This is my favorite scene.
Ready?
Hello.
Well, we're starting with Winnie's intro, right?
Oh my gosh, now I need to find the
Find it, but
notes
also
that
are the
I-
momos almost here? Because
It's like here in 5 minutes.
so
Okay,
we should
we'll just
wait
wait
for the
5 minutes,
momos because
5
we're gonna
minutes.
be interrupted by the momos.
5 minutes.
You can stay out. Welcome to Fear of Sarah's Desi Films Decoded, the podcast where four friends from different backgrounds unlock the world of Desi cinema. I'm Winnie, the Desi who's never been to India.
Hey, I'm Killy. I'm from India. Yeah.
I'm Nicky, a non-religious Asian.
I'm Adam, like a half religious American, I guess. We'll get into it. Killy, you recently came back from India.
Yep.
How was it?
It was good. It was good food.
So Kili actually brought back biryani, mutton biryani from India, and that was the first time I've ever had food straight out of India. So it was like a very special moment for me as well, and that was a bomb biryani. Even though I feel like you weren't too impressed by it, Kili, but I was impressed.
Yeah, it was dry a bit, but yeah, it's the best.
How did you
biryani.
get it over here?
Just carried it by hand.
You carried it by hand on the airplane?
Yeah.
You what?
It's a 2-hour flight. It's not like it's a
Oh
massive
yeah,
trip.
I guess. Okay.
You also
Did you
got-
buy it from food outside of the airport?
Yeah. I mean, okay. So the thing is, like,
What's the journey of this food?
it cannot be no, but I carried it in the hand luggage. Then give it to the chicken. So you cannot. It's a biryani is a dry food. Like it doesn't have any watery part. So the food that has watery part, it cannot be carried on a plane. Yeah, dry food can be. Yeah, so biryani is dry, so it's easy to carry. Cannot carry like butter chicken.
Yeah, sure. So, like for the listener, Winnie is like Rapunzel, where you really want to go to India, but because since we started this podcast and we have a tagline, like you are not allowed to go at all. So, Killy has to run on trips and then like bring food to you that we like feed to you in your like Man in the Iron Mask like jail cell.
Yeah, exactly. So I was born in Thailand. I've never been to India, and usually I travel solo. And the one request my mom has made for me is, please don't go to India alone. So I've respected her wishes these past few years. But Kili's, I think, is like my closest into the culture right now.
Yep.
And honestly, having food from the homeland was a pretty special moment.
How did it taste?
Tasted like India.
Was it different? Was it different?
Okay, the mutton was different. I think like the biryani overall taste was similar to what you'd get in Thailand. But the mutton was a little bit like, I don't know, it was just juicier. It was nicer. So if that was the biryani that tasted after hours of traveling from India to Thailand, I can imagine that like freshly made, it would have blown my mind.
What about the Indian food in Thailand though?
There's a lot of Indian restaurants in Thailand. First of all, it's highly overpriced.
Yeah.
I think the quality is good. I don't know. Kili can probably compare it to Indian food from India a little bit more. But
quality
I
is
grew
good.
up eating like my grandma's food. So I would say that was like the golden standard. And she made really good chicken curry and roti chapati. And I think like no restaurant I've had from Thailand has really matched that quality that she made. But that might just be a bias for grandma's food.
Well, yeah,
Most of us have that.
I think from my experience, I feel like everywhere I go, there are several good places to eat. Not the one from W District. I think that one is
Yeah.
the butter chicken was a lot to be desired. I think.
Butter chicken is a British food.
Oh, don't say that. Kili, do not say that.
Shots fired.
How can
So
you say
Shots
that?
wait, so Winnie, if you go to India, by the way, okay, that's a hard if because we have to change our entire podcast premise. So that's we'll see about that. But if you go, what do you want to try?
Food-wise?
Yeah,
Oh
food.
my God. I'm going to be sitting there having pani puri from like morning to night. So you get pani puri here, like you get 6 for $100. I don't know, it's like $4 or $5.
It's like $5.
yeah,
it's way
exactly.
too much.
And
It's
I
way
think
too
you probably
much.
get like 10 for $5.
It's crap. Yeah.
in
In
India.
in Nepal, I don't remember how much it is in
For $5
India.
Well, $5 isn't $5 US.
Yeah. Okay. How much is one pani puri actually in India?
No, it will
like
get
10 cents.
Yeah, something like that.
It's like nothing. It's literally nothing.
So you
Like,
could stand there and eat like 100.
I was doing that in Nepal. I was literally just standing at a cart, just eating it. It's like unlimited. You just stand there and they just keep feeding it to you.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
But I've heard pani puri is also kind of the main reason a lot of people get diarrhea or like the deli belly, I guess, because they just use their hands to mix
You
all
have
of
to
it.
know from where to buy it, where to eat it. Yeah. You have to know. Like you need someone who lives there and will tell you that okay, go there and buy, eat from that vendor. Yeah. Otherwise, like it's difficult.
So you went back to see family.
Yeah. His family, spend time with them. My parents' house, my sister's house.
Do you want to give out their addresses here?
Yeah.
Where are you from in India,
Yeah.
Kili?
I'm from West Bengal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's like the main cuisine there?
Kolkata is the nearest city. Yeah.
So what, did you do anything? Is there any did you do anything while you were there? Anything to bring up on this podcast about Indian films?
I was just like unwinding myself. Like I had a pretty busy month, back to back events, back to back like lot of work and stuff. I thought of doing so many things. Like I thought of like doing some other projects and here and there. But I just went there. I used to wake up, talk to people, and then just chill, do nothing.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
called a vacation.
Yeah, it was a really good vacation, like in my hometown. That's it.
Did you watch any Bollywood movies with your family while you were there?
No, just watch some Bengali films. Yeah.
I think you gave your nephew like
Niece.
a little
Yeah,
handheld.
handheld.
Oh, yeah.
PSP knockoffs. Yeah.
Hey, so
Yeah,
you
so
told
happy.
people you were making a podcast on Indian films, right? What did they say?
They said the podcast. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
big hit. But we have a fan from there, right? A new
Oh
fan.
yeah. Yeah, big shout out to my niece.
Yeah. Thanks for believing in us.
Yeah. She said it's really cool.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
So while Killy was gone, we chose a movie to watch. And actually, I did find this interesting because it's going to be eventually we'll all be choosing movies at some point. And I think it's going to speak a lot to our personalities. And I think, Winnie, this one like was very indicative of your personality and what you want to talk about. So in the group chat, you wanted to go with PK.
Right.
Why?
Well, okay, so for the listeners out there who don't know PK, it was released in 2014 and it was directed by Rajkumar Hirani. I hope I said that correctly. And I watched it a few years ago. So I stopped watching Bollywood from like when I was real young. And this was just one of the films that I watched recently because it was also on Netflix. And the religious commentary it had behind it. So I'm a person who likes social issues, political issues, and I just like discussing things about that. And this was the first Bollywood film I watched where all of those usual Bollywood tropes were just not really prominent, and it was just more of a social commentary about the state of India, the religious followings and such. And I was so impressed by it. Like it made me question so much about human behavior. It doesn't just go into religious behaviors, but it also talks about how men are not allowed to wear skirts or just very like human things that we do and we don't really question because it's so normalized. But because this movie comes from a perspective of an alien who lands on Earth and doesn't know anything about human society, and so he kind of sees this from a third-party point of view, and it does that very well in a very humorous way as well. So I really appreciated that. So yeah, that was why I chose it. It was also a big hit in India. So it was the highest grossing film when it was first released
Which
in
is
theater.
crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
exactly.
That's huge.
Right. Especially for not being like a very, like Bollywoody film in essence.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So I think it also goes to show that a lot of people wanted to speak about these things and maybe they didn't have the platform to. And this movie kind of provided that platform for them to bring up these issues that were boiling under the covers for a long time. So now I think it stands at like the 10th highest grossing film, which is still a pretty big thing. But it was also highly controversial. So there was a whole hashtag boycott PK that came out when the movie was newly released. But kind of in opposition to that, there was also a hashtag for we support PK. So you kind of really saw like two sects of Indian society butting heads to some degree. But I think this movie also made its way out of India a little bit into Western audiences, in my opinion. And yeah, I was very impressed by it. I feel like when you guys are watching it, you're a little bit like, what did we get ourselves
mean,
into?
I mean, it certainly opened my eyes with how there's a lot of religions in the movie, and how I think the central theme, one of the central themes anyway of the movie, is that you did mention it, Winnie. You said that religion divides us all, basically. I didn't know. I absolutely went in not knowing anything about how religion is like in India, but I do see some parallels with Thailand here and there. I do think it's like you said, the movie is essentially a religious satire,
Yep.
right? And yeah, it did question it's like a movie that shows you, like, it questions what idolatry is like, right? It's like people, like, blind devotion and
Exactly.
believing whatever this, like, a religious figure does. I think Keely has touched upon that, a lot of, like, gurus and everything. I think there's one particular religious leader that I can think of right now that is coming to Thailand in later this month.
Yeah.
At the time of recording,
Wait, who?
Shall we say his name?
it's Sadhguru. He's like this guy that
Who sells feed pics now right now?
he has feed pics in OnlyFans.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he has-
He personally-
he sells feed pics
He sends feed pics to who?
to his
to
devotees.
his devotees, yes.
He has a massive
For fun?
following, and he has like
No, for money, not for fun.
yeah.
So the followers pay him for feed pics?
No, it's so touching the feet as a reverence is
Uh,
a thing for Indians,
uh-huh.
right? So,
Oh.
like Hindus, and so, so, yeah, he's just selling feet pics.
Well, the way you say it doesn't. Hold on.
Sounds like an OnlyFans thing.
Is he selling? So he's selling pictures of his feet so like people can kiss it or what?
No, like
Do that.
just do the salute thing
Yeah.
To the photo.
to the photo. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
That's nice.
Have you heard of Sadhguru, Adam?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
Oh yeah, he's like this guy.
Tell
but
me
he's
about it.
dramatized
Well, nobody
version of
knows what you're
Sadhguru.
pointing at when you say this guy, Killy. 'Cause
Oh,
they
like,
can't see
this
that
guy
we're
is in,
watching the
like,
movie.
The film that we're gonna talk about, the villain in that film. Yeah. So
How is the? No, I want to ask how the film was received in India. Because
So it was really appreciated. It was really a super duper hit. So what I would say is India is known for its religious, like spirituality and the religious point of views, different religions, and then everything, right? But also it has a very strong like a history of atheism, agnosticism, and like religious commentary.
Jainism.
So the Jainism is a religion. Yeah. Like also Buddhism is from India, right? Buddhism is like a agnostic religion. It doesn't say like whether there is a god or not. There's like doesn't matter, right? So yeah, so and then there have been artists and there have been films, there have been books that has been commenting on the religious business, like the business aspect of religion and the whole these spiritual guru Babaji's kind of thing, the scams, their scams and everything. They have been talking for a long time. There have been many films, many literature and stuff like that, and it was well accepted. There used to be a lot of comedy involving gods, like the Hindu gods. Like I remember one film where like this guy is like, it's a Bengali film, Jomalai Jibanto Manush, where a guy just like the Yamraj is the like a lord of the afterlife, and then he decides like where you are going to the hell or heaven, right? So his worker, like his minions, just brings in a alive guy by mistake, and then he just create chaos. Like he's commenting on every aspect in the like how they are treating the system, like their system is rotten and everything. They're like, oh, I'll go back to the earth and tell all this all the newspapers, and then like like reveal all your scams, so you all up here are doing scams and stuff like that. And they're like, no, don't go, don't, it's our fault, and it's a huge commentary. Like there used to be a lot of things, but then with the rise of right-wing Hindutva politics in India, there has been like a prohibition of saying like commenting on religion. So PK came out and the peak of when these religious extremist people are getting into the power. Okay, so that point of time, PK was released. So the environment, the whole situation was getting dire. The society was getting pretty polarized. You cannot criticize things. If you criticize one thing, you are like whole anti, like you're given a stamp of like anti India, anti Hindu, and all this kind of things. So that's why, and they always bring up this analogy that, oh, you can talk about Hindu gods because we are quiet. You cannot say anything about Muslims and da da da. While Bollywood has been making films forever where the terrorists are Muslim, and then like Muslim villains every time like they're doing jihad or whatever or whatnot shit. They have been doing films forever on that. And then one film criticizing Hindu religious business models, and then like people go cray cray that, oh, you're doing this, that, da 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 da. I mean, these fringe groups were active for a long time, but they were fringe groups. Now they have like they are under one umbrella. Like they're more like how do you call it, like more organized. And yeah, so it created a huge ruckus, this film, because it's does a commentary on how the fraudster scams people in the name of religion. It's not anti-god. I don't see
Right.
any like criticism of God itself or any criticism on the religion itself. It's this like, okay, the religion is true, but you are doing it wrong. You are scamming people. That's what this film is kind of saying. So
Before we get into the movie a bit, though, I think we should take the time to explain like our backgrounds a bit about where we come from religiously, so people know where we're coming from, because we all come from different angles, I think.
yeah,
And just so
all
yeah,
have
to give
different
background, like the
religions.
movie does tackle like yeah, it's like when he said like an alien comes and kind of observes social norms and religion and pokes holes in it, and has questions about it. And before we continue, I think we should just say where we're coming from too.
Yeah, actually, I didn't realize, but we actually do come from all different
Yeah.
religious backgrounds. There's
Yeah.
4 of us and 4 different religions here.
Nikki, what's your
That's true. Well, I come from a very Buddhist family. I mean, my parents used to, let me make. I wouldn't say force, but let me do like Buddhist traditions where, like, we make alms to monks, give them food. So I guess I'll want to get into it. Like, Thai people usually follow the Theravada Buddhism, which is like the main religion. It focuses more on rituals, people going to temples, making merits on religious holidays. And like I said, like the thing that I used to do a lot was offering alms to monks in the morning, early morning. I didn't want to be there, but it's that we make merits so you can get close to what we call nirvana. And reaching perfection, I would say, building up credit, accumulating purity. That is the thing that people believe in.
Did you go to temple a lot?
I did go to temple when I was a child a lot. My parents would, and again, I don't want to say force, but they just want to like lead me to a path of purity. You're buying. I don't want to say it like that, but like you're making your way to like heaven, I guess.
So now that you're an adult, do you still do those things, or do you consider yourself religious?
Not
Buddhist?
at all. I would consider myself. I used to say I was agnostic, but I feel like I'm leaning more towards like an atheism sort of way. My parents don't have a problem with that. My mom is actually Catholic, but she follows Buddhism because of my dad. Just the way it is. We don't really do religious traditions like nowadays, but back then we used to do a lot. I guess another aspect that I want to touch upon for Thai people is that it's not necessarily Buddhism, but people like in the movie PK, when I was watching PK, one of the things that really like stuck out to me was that people worship idolatry. Like, people want have icons, something to worship, just so that they can offer their things, like offer things, worldly desires, like just to attain worldly desires, just so that it could become true. Like, say for example, like getting promotions, or like having prosperity in your businesses, or even more simple things, getting love. They do that. I think they do that. Now, don't quote me on this. I'm not an expert, but they do that to just have a sense of reassurance. I would say reassurance or confidence that you're talking to some sort of higher being, unseen universal power or something like that. Just so that if they can hear you out, you can your wish might come true. And I think there is, in a way, PK kind of shows that. I think I see some sort of that. Like, people follow these religious figures, like this. I would say the antagonist of the movie is like His Holiness, right? People are like blindly following him, and he's like giving instructions to all the people on what to do, just to because it's the right thing to do. Like, say, like for example, he's telling one of the main characters in the movie, Jagu, that like, you can't be with this Pakistani dude. It just isn't the right thing to do.
Right.
And he's like, I know so, because there's a lot of bad blood historically, and I guess we'll get into that later, but like, yeah, stuff like that. I think what I like about PK is that I didn't realize there was a lot of parallels. Like, you could call me ignorant or whatever
With Hinduism and Buddhism?
yeah, like just like following.
Buddhism is derived
No.
from.
That's debatable, but like, but that's a very common thread in subcontinental religions as well. Like, there are even like Muslim sects that do those kind of things, and they're sometimes looked down upon as an idol worshipper and things like that. So it's a very common thread. Of
Same with
religion.
Christianity. Like, we got
Yeah.
prosperity gospel and like
Yeah,
big
I
icons
think-
and stuff.
I think that's a very common thread. Yeah.
But Nicky,
Go
what you
on.
said about like how people, do all these prayers and giving alms mainly so that they can get prosperity in business or find love. I feel like that kind of shows the selfish angle towards our prayers sometimes. I think PK also does a good job at dissecting that. Kind of shows that a lot of people gain from the selfishness of religion, and when it's supposed to be kind of a selfless act.
yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting.
Yeah,
parallel.
I'm glad I'm not doing that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on this podcast,
You'd be a fucking
You
rich
would be in a
businessman,
temple
man.
being a monk.
Yeah.
meditating 10
He would
times.
have like so much money that he would just sleep and play games, not meet any.
His
people.
dream. So I'm sorry, Nick. You should have done the other thing, man, because you could have been a lot happier.
I could have been a Tekken champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, just play Tekken 24/7, man.
Kelly, what's your background?
Okay, yeah. So I grew up in a very religious and pious Hindu family. So we have a temple in our top floor where there is a statue. There is a statue of Krishna, Radha Krishna, the two gods. Like, so it's a very we had like puja every day and stuff like that. So most of like my family members are very religious in that sense, like in a god loving way. Like, they don't I didn't grow up in a family where the like Hindu religion is like so multicultural, and it's a huge spectrum also, like so it's like I grew up mostly towards like in a god loving way, not much rituals on like strict rituals on regimes on like food and this and that. So those things were there. But then I gradually become agnostic when I was around like 12, 11, 12
Why?
years old. I started questioning. I think it's just that natural way of like, growing up. And then that time I just started questioning as like things of like existence of God and da.
That's a pretty young age to start questioning things, I'd say.
And then
Yeah, like what made you question that? Like, well, your family was all super religious still, right?
yeah, I'm like, where are they? Where are the gods? Like, I'm
That's deep.
learning science. Like, where are the gods? Like, where are they? Like, how are they controlling things? Like, how? And then, these are like historical characters, right? Like, not sorry, what I'm saying. These are like mythological characters.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, So they're like incarnation of things, and they're like the representation of things according to the religion and stuff like that. So then I was learning that, and then I was like, okay, so what, like, so is there any, like, maybe a kind of higher power? So I don't necessarily need to worship it in this form. I can do whatever. I can just, if there is one god or multiple gods, like, so these kind of questions. So I kind of became like agnostic. I kind of stopped believing in the ritual, like puja rituals, like fasting before you do
Did
the
your
puja
family know?
thing. That I was growing agnostic. I'd say things that I think they would understand that I'm like questioning things, but they were like, okay, he's just growing up. He'll just be whatever. They were not super forceful about things. And then there was a phase. I kind of became like affinite, like I kind of became theist again. I started believing in God, and like believing that the religious has its position and it's an identity, and this and that. This that does good things in life, and we should. There's a tradition. There's a reason for tradition. All this traditionalist, So I was, yeah. So that was a phase, like a small phase, and right after that, I became from right then atheist, and then I'm still an atheist.
Wait, what? That's a big job. Why?
Because that rabbit hole kind of took me to the people who are ultra Hindu to a gang. So it's just that from there it opens up my eyes towards this culture, and then this, and then I was like, okay, then I kind of traveled through different spectrum, and then kind of became atheist at the end. Yeah.
Wow, so we have two atheists in the room now.
Yeah. I
Two
wonder,
out of
I wonder
four.
if that's a recurring theme.
Weird journey. We all end up in the same place.
How we ended up as atheists.
Let's see if you're going to be at 100%
Okay,
atheist rate at the
so-
end of this.
Winnie, you're up.
Okay. So I grew up Sikh and Punjabi, which I think is the largest diaspora of Indians outside of India. And Sikhism, I don't want to get into the history of it, but I would say to really simplify it, was founded by Guru Nanak. And it was almost during the time where there was a lot of tension between Islam and Hinduism. And it was kind of like this middle ground. So it really derived from like philosophical roots of trying to understand both religions and taking like maybe picking and choosing what they wanted out of these and then forming its own belief. So like, we have like one God. There's no like idol worshipping like there is in Hinduism. And we just have 10 gurus who kind of like, passed on the teachings of this one God who is never named. So I grew up in a semi-religious family, I'd say. Like we did grow up saying prayers every morning and night. And I would cite this phrase, the Ardas, in like Punjabi. And I had no idea what it means because I don't speak Punjabi. So I would just say it. I knew how to say that phrase, but not knowing anything about it. And we'd go to the temple maybe like every Sunday or every other Sunday. But one stark reminder I have of religion growing up was this emphasis on cutting hair. So in Sikhism, you're not supposed to cut your hair at all. There's like 5 rules, and one of them is that you can't cut your hair. And that was so shoved down our throats, right? And we're not growing up in India. So like the men had turbans, girls had really long hair. The guys would get bullied a lot in school because they look so different. They'd be called like salapao, which is like dumpling.
Yeah,
You know?
I get that. I get that in my school with my Sikh friends. They always get teased with salapao because they're the little turban thing.
Yeah, exactly.
They look like
it looks like a dumpling.
like a dumpling,
Right.
basically.
So I feel like that was really emphasized upon, and that made me turn my head against it a little bit. Where I was like, "Why is this?" But I came from a very liberal family in the sense that my mom let me cut my hair when I was rather young, so I didn't have to like wait till much older, which is usually the case. And I didn't really understand it. When I was 15 or 16, I think I decided I was agnostic. Like I used to go to the temple, not understanding what the prayers were saying, nothing. But I still wanted to believe in this like higher power or something. And at some point, I just was like, yeah, I actually don't know if anything exists, so I'll just consider myself agnostic. Then I went to the States and I decided that I was an atheist. So all of a sudden, I was like, I have no, like none of this exists.
Why?
Like,
Why?
maybe just kind of also being in an environment where atheism was more prevalent. I was in a very liberal university and people were not very traditional or cultural. So there was just this kind of like yeah, I can't really pinpoint why, but at some point you just start believing that this doesn't exist. And there's also that rebellious kind of attitude that you have, I guess, when you're like growing up, this adult, yeah, I mean, youth to becoming adult kind of phase where you start questioning a lot of things and you realize like, yeah, you didn't really have to uphold these beliefs. These were just forced upon you, for lack of a better word. So I turned into atheism for a few years. And I think later on, like into my young adulthood years, I became more spiritual. Like I went to meditation retreats in Buddhist temples. I got into yoga and all these like hippie things, for lack of a better word.
I was gonna ask you. I mean,
Yeah.
with the growing up in Thailand,
Right.
I mean, how did you intermingle with like Buddhist people, and how did that influence anything?
I would not say it was a big deal because Sikhism by itself is not like a very harsh religion, and I'll talk about this later also, but I think a lot of its beliefs are rather very based upon equality and justice, equality of sexes. It tried to do away with a lot of the cultural practices that were being done under Hinduism practices like sati, where the woman has to jump to the fire and
What?
burn herself
What?
along with her husband. Yes, there's a practice called sati in India, rooted in Hindu practices where when
It's
the
really
husband
Hindu upper
dies,
caste
the wife has to also
practice.
throw herself into the flames and die along with him because there
Cool.
was no more point of her living if her husband.
But if she dies, he gets another wife.
Yeah, he can get another
That's
wife.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
like Sikhism really did away with all this. They really tried to emphasize
That's
equality
sick.
between the sexes, equality between classes. We have this concept of langar where you go to the gurdwara, which is our temple, and everyone sits on the floor and eat food. The food is free, and it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor. You're just gonna sit next to each other on the floor. So there's kind of this like very strong emphasis on equality in that perspective, which I didn't realize when I was young because all I knew about Sikhism when I was young was don't cut your hair, don't cut your hair. And I
You were
learned
really
that much
fixated on the hair
later.
thing.
It was the only thing that was emphasized.
She wanted to cut her hair. So
Why? Why was that the thing your family cared so much about?
That was a tie-in in society. It was just very much focused on that. I don't know why.
So I have a question about that though. Can you trim?
You're not supposed to. Men are not supposed to shave their beards.
Ever.
Ever.
You
ever.
cannot trim anything.
No, we're not supposed to. Okay, so again, this is interesting because this practice actually came about when I think Guru Gobind Singh was a guru. He's the last guru, and there was a war going on. So he kind of told Sikhs to do this so that they would be identifiable during war, that people would know that you're Sikh, you're Hindu, you must. But I should not say this because I don't know enough about it. But I don't know if it was meant to carry on like this, But it was. So.
So
yeah.
I mean, does everyone have like gigantic like 80s bush and stuff from
Well, you see the men with turbans, which is another annoying thing because most Westerners see men with turbans and think that they're Muslims, but it's actually a Sikh practice, Like, yeah.
I have a friend. He has a turban, and
Right.
we in high school, when we're going on field trips, when we're staying over during the night drinking, sometimes he would just like take off his turban and then unfurl his like long ass hair, and then he would spin it around and says, "Helicopter."
We call it the helicopter. My brother is in this.
Everyone does that. But I always think
That's
it's
such
funny.
a good
It's like an
anecdote.
act of like defiance or something. I
Yeah.
think it's so hilarious.
Yeah.
So my uncles would be like bald pretty much, right? They have a huge balding spot and they take off their turbans and there would be nothing under there. The weather in town is like 30, 40 degrees Celsius. It's really hot.
Wait, so there's people with like fake turbans with nothing in there and stuff?
It's a real turban, but they have no hair. It's
Well,
all
yeah.
falling out, but they still got to cover their heads. It's like a thing.
So, but are you not allowed to like trim body hair or eyebrows or
I don't know about body hair, to be honest. I'm guessing not. I don't know.
like I'm just asking, like, do they have like huge like 80s like bush and stuff? If like is that frowned upon? I don't know.
I have no idea. To
Okay,
be honest.
okay.
No, but I think for the most part, Indian women we have to thread our eyebrows and stuff, or else we'd have unibrows. So I think that is okay. But men do not shave their beards and we do not cut the hair on our heads.
have unibrows?
Yes, a lot of them do. We are very, very hairy creatures.
But yeah, so coming back to like the Sikhism from so most of the religious movement that happened from Hinduism, like they were addressing the caste issue a lot. So if in the ancient times Buddhism was like challenging caste system, and then Sikhism like when you say like all people are equal, right? Say all men are equal. So it's just also kind of like was challenging the caste system. And yeah, caste is like a definitive reality of Indian like subcontinental society. It kind of seeps in to other religion as well, in social way. But like yeah, that the Sikhism was like defying that caste system a lot, like at its inception. Yeah.
Yeah, I really think I understood the essence of Sikhism maybe just 2 or 3 years ago. And as I was reading about it, I was like, oh, this actually does align with my beliefs. It was not like the beliefs was formed by the religion in any way. It's just my natural beliefs. And somehow I think I gained more respect from it later on. I think a lot of like practices have been influenced by culture in India. So I don't know how it's truly practiced in India. I think there's still a lot of like misogyny and patriarchy that goes into Sikh families. But in essence, it really has a lot of things to say. It also is rooted in pantheism. So this idea of like God is universal. There's God in everyone, so you should not disrespect anyone, or else you're disrespecting like a part of yourself, a part of a holy being. So I appreciate the religion. I would not. I don't know if I'd call myself a Sikh, but I would definitely say I'm more of spiritual now. Like I believe in something. I don't know what it is. I don't like religions at all. I think it's just a way to divide people. But yeah, I believe in like higher power, karma, things like that, but from a very spiritual perspective.
Do you dabble in like Buddhism too?
Buddhism, I have read a few books. I went to a meditation retreat in Buddhist temple. So I appreciate that it's very focused on your inner self. I don't like when religions try to control other people or try to say you got to do XYZ in order to, qualify in being religious and going to heaven. And I think Buddhism really takes a different stance in the sense that it's more from a philosophical, psychological perspective, right? It's kind of like you need to work on yourself. You meditate, you let go of attachments. I don't know if nirvana is very achievable. Like I wouldn't do like a monkhood lifestyle, but I really admire that it has this perspective on self-improvement rather than trying to improve other people,
I'm all about self improvement, but I'm still rooted in materialism.
which is very anti-Buddhist.
Well, there you go. 3 out of 4 atheists.
Adam?
Adam, you're the last
I'm a
one.
Jainist, so guys, I'm not. No, so I grew up. Yeah, so I'm American, and I grew up in a very religious family, but like non-denominational. So it's like not like any of the interesting like weird Catholic quirks or anything. So it's like a non-denominational church growing up, Christian, and but it was super super Christian. I went to church camp. I went to like a private Lutheran school growing up. But honestly, for real, I literally didn't know that non-Christians existed until I was like 13 or 14 when I went to public high school. I didn't know they exist. I literally just didn't know there were people that lived that didn't believe the exact same thing as me because I just never met them. So my whole world was like that. I also wasn't allowed to watch like TV growing up and stuff. So we only had, like religious VHS tapes and stuff. Like I was very
You
sheltered.
guys are not taught about the other religions in schools?
I went to a private Lutheran school. I went to
okay.
like I know it was church camp, Lutheran school, like church friends. I did not know anyone that wasn't Christian.
But getting to
Like,
watch only
in the-
Christian shows sounds a bit cultish.
In history?
Yeah. Huh?
History?
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Like what? Like
okay. No, I my first really.
I mean, it's all
lesson
through
of
the lens
religion
of-
was from history.
it's all through the lens of Christianity, though. Like the guy was a non-believer. Whatever.
Okay.
Like yeah. I mean, no matter what, there's a through line of like now Christianity exists in this time period, right? And so everyone else was just not believing. I mean, I had books that I read growing up on the bookshelf of like Adam and Eve riding dinosaurs in the Garden of Eden because it was like hardcore like the world is like not over 5,000 years old and stuff. So it's like Adam like on a dinosaur and stuff like that that's what I grew up with and stuff. And yeah, like it wasn't cultish, but I just wasn't exposed to a lot of outside things. So like like movies and entertainment and stuff. No, it was like Christian music for the most part and Christian movies and stuff. So I just just didn't have much exposure to anything else until I went to public school. And then like I met someone that like wasn't religious and it completely shattered my entire world. Like it completely broke everything. And when I knew that it could be an option and not just like the default thing, like kind of everything unraveled. But I will say this, like I did read the Bible a ton growing up as a kid, and it made me like, I think very like leftist, you know. I would say like I think I agree with everything Jesus says. Like I think what he was saying was very good, and that kind of put me on the outs with the church for the most part. When I was growing up, like, you know, Bush was president and stuff. It was very like conservative, right, like neocon Christian stuff. And just because I had read the Bible a lot growing up, like I just already kind of disagreed with them. Like I didn't believe that you should, like, you know, not help poor people or, you know, not give them health care. Just literally went against what I was reading in the Bible.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, like I was just like this. So like I was already distanced from the church a bit. But then when I realized it was a choice, I don't know. I just read, then I read about like the history of, you know, the church and the history of, you know, the Bible. And I just started getting very, the history of it. And like, you know, I was like this, you know, the Bible was kind of made by committee and I don't really agree with that. You know, I will say the one big flaw of Christianity, I think, is that like Jesus didn't write his own thing. Like, yeah, I mean, for real, like if you're going to have a religion, I think you should like write the text. I feel about what you believe in. Otherwise, guess what happens? Like a bunch of other people could just misinterpret it. And it's all oral hearsay.
People has written, but it gets misinterpreted.
Sure,
anyway.
no, I get it. But I will say, like, the one thing for Islam is that, like, at least there's like a primary source material, right?
Okay.
Which, like, I do think Christianity lacks a bit. But anyways, I thought Jesus was fine, but yeah, I did take those political beliefs, but I just drift away from the church. And then, yeah, I'm atheist now. I'm not I wouldn't say I'm spiritual, but I'm not against it at all. Like I have no hard feelings or anything. Like the church wasn't like wrong to me or anything. So I don't have like a chip on my shoulder. I think there's some very good Christians. I think there's some very, very bad ones as well. But yeah, I know like the purpose of religion. Like I think it can be very good for some people, and I think the community is very nice. But if it turns nasty or it turns into a thing where people hate themselves because of it, I don't really agree with that. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah. So look, here we go. 4 out of 4.
4 out of 4 atheists.
What up?
No,
This is
really?
yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow, incredible. Weird that we get along.
And you know, just like a Bollywood movie, that was our flashback, and now we're just about to get into the
Yeah, so we're like an hour into the podcast.
Yeah, and then now we are starting the real story.
So PK,
PK, like many Hindi films, it's not in English and requires subtitles for the average viewer.
yeah.
What?
So what happens? How does it? Sorry, yeah.
So it begins with like, I didn't think I'd see Aamir Khan again. You know, I've seen him as, you know, he was in Three Idiots, which is something that most people have seen. But I feel like in this movie he plays an alien.
I feel like he plays an alien. He is an alien.
He is an alien, but he looks
ripped
like
alien.
He looks like an Indian, but you know.
So I will say this. So I've never seen this actor before, and at least in this movie, guys, he looks like Tom Hanks doing a Mr. Bean impersonation.
Like a Forrest Gump or like Rain Man, you know, like the eccentric character that
Later
play.
he ends up doing a Forrest Gump remake.
Yeah, but
Oh my God.
is that him? Is that him?
him?
Yeah.
Well, that makes total sense. That makes total
I didn't
sense.
realize that.
He looks like Tom Hanks, and in this movie, it was like Tom Hanks is trying to be Mr. Bean. Like that makes so much sense if he's in the Forrest Gump. He looks like Tom Hanks. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
But yeah, he's like this. He's this alien, and like I don't remember why he landed on Rajasthan.
Just a research project.
Yeah.
Particularly Rajasthan, looking all jacked up.
Traveler.
Oh yeah, this is the one thing. So
Looks
how old
so
is this actor? 50 something?
Yeah, I think so.
He is
I have to
ripped.
check.
It makes no sense. It might be a CGI body. We're looking into it.
Yeah. So yeah, he looks very jacked up. One thing I want to add, he doesn't blink.
I would
He
think.
does
Okay,
not blink.
did you notice that, or did you read that later?
No, I noticed that.
Me
He just doesn't blink. Like I just noticed that. Like I feel like, don't you get like bloodshot eyes while filming?
And his eyes are always open wide, like really wide.
Like I feel like his eyes would be watering right there. And
I picked that up. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Haley Joel Osment does that when he filmed AI, you know, the movie where he's like the little robot and he didn't blink, and that was incredible too. But this, it's like super long takes. Yeah, and his eyes are super wide and like he doesn't blink. I don't know how he does that. That's incredible.
That's
he was
crazy.
so highly praised for his acting in this film, but Keely didn't like his acting in this.
No. I like his acting. Like when I was kid, he was my favorite actor, and then
We're talking about this film though.
So
dude.
what happens is like he started doing some goofy characters, and I felt like he was just doing the same character again and again. So that's why I kind of felt like, oh, yet another Aamir Khan being goofy. Like, so that was my take. That point, being snobbish a bit. But like when I rewatched this film, I really like this film more than when I first time watched it. It's a very kid friendly film, I would say. It's a very the.
I mean, no, it just
Looking
totally
at me
questions like the complete concept of religion, but I guess it's a kid-friendly film.
But
I
they do it in
guess.
a very humorous, simple way.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
very
the plot is
simplistic take
simple.
on the nuances. It's very straightened up, down.
It is like if Teletubbies like questioned the Pope,
Yep.
and they're all
Yep.
freaking out like this is like hurting us. It's like, no, it's like a basic child question. If you can't answer this, like your whole thing's broken.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So you said humorous, Winnie, and I think one of the things that stayed with me from the movie is that damn theme song that goes do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. It's like it plays like every 5 minutes, like just to show, oh look, wacky character, you know, and like. Yeah, so it's this alien. He lands. He has this rape. He's buck naked, jacked up.
Like Terminator style, but he looks again like Mr. Bean.
Yeah, and like he has this like Dragon Ball esque radar around his neck, remote control as we would call it, and like some dude steals his remote. Like it's some random traveler.
A Sikh,
Yeah.
right?
A Sikh.
Huh? No. He's Rajasthani. So turban is not only by Sikhs.
Okay,
Turban
there we
is
go.
like a headgear. It's very prevalent in northwestern India. Yeah.
So he steals his remote, and then like he ends up with that like boombox. You
Yep.
know, and then like because that man stole his remote, we get the premise of the film. Like that was his way back home to call
Yeah.
a ship.
Yeah, he's ET without his phone. It's literally the plot of E ET.
That's literally it. And then, you know, I guess throughout the movie we learn that he's just stuck in India, out of all places. He's stuck in India, learns their ways, and essentially is like this alien is trying to find his way back home, and I think like he meets people, and they say like, you know, you should contact God if you want to find your way back
Yeah,
home. So
God
that's-
will know. Like pray
God
to God,
will
like
know.
they would know how to find, like how
And
to
that's where
God
we-
will help you.
That's where we get the satire from, where he's like looking to God for answers, but then he cannot find those answers.
Yeah.
And he turns to every sort of religion, right? There was like, you get to see this montage where like he goes through Christianity, Sikhism, Hinduism.
Yeah.
I don't know what else there.
Muslims.
Like, Muslims, yes. Yeah. And we're introduced to this central antagonist, I would say. I don't remember his name, but it's His Holiness. We call him His Holiness. And that is the man that has
He's like a religious guru.
religious guru.
Like running a fake cult or
Sure.
money type
Yeah.
outfit.
Yeah. And he has that remote control.
Yeah.
That's basically the gist of it.
Yeah, and don't forget though, it's bookended by a very weird romance.
There is a romance film. We have like this woman. What's her? I guess you guys. I mean, Keely would know, right? Anushka Sharma
Yeah.
as Jagu.
Jaggu. Yeah.
Jagu. So she's like this journalist, and we get like this subplot where she was in. I think it was
London.
Belgium.
in Bruges, right? She falls in love with a Pakistani boy, But I don't think
Yeah.
he's Pakistani. I don't think the actor's
No, the actress is not, but like, the character is.
Pakistani. And I think we get one of the most hilarious like fast forward esque moments where like, oh, you're Pakistani. Oh, I don't want to mess with you. And then we get a musical cue, and then they fall in love just to accelerate the plot. But when when Jagu tells her parents that, I'm in love with this Pakistani man.
Yeah, he's
they-
like firstly he's Muslim and then Pakistani, like double negative
Double
for
trouble.
double trouble for the family.
family, and that's where the
Yeah.
religious thing comes in, where she's kind of like the parents were not okay with it, and they were like, we don't like this. Let's turn to His Holiness, and then we're introduced to this antagonist, and he's saying like, oh, Pakistanis are like traitorous people, like they'll backstab you. They're only in it for carnal desires or something. That's what he said. Carnal desires.
Yeah.
It's like he's gonna leave you at the altar. And to prove him wrong, she was telling the Pakistani boy, let's get married tomorrow. Let's do it. And then they just tried doing it, and she gets like this letter from a boy that's like, our cultures divide us. We're not meant to be. Families are not happy. And then it's like the audience is led to believe that his prophecy, His Holiness prophecy, has come true.
Yeah.
So she goes back and she meets PK. But I just want to get into it. Like,
And she's a journalist.
She's a journalist. She goes into a journalism job, and her news agency, they don't want to touch religion. They don't cover religion. That was it. But I just want to get into it. Like, is that a thing? Like, do they are like Indians and Pakistanis don't get together?
Yeah, like
is that
so the one of the building one of the identities in Pakistan and India after the independence was like Pakistanis were taught we are anti-India, and Indians were trained as like Pakistan is our enemy. Yeah,
Let's
so-
just say if they got along, I would probably not be in Thailand right now.
But
I know someone that's like, he's Indian, he's married to a Pakistani
But that happens a
woman
lot,
yeah, and he's in San Francisco though.
yeah, most of the happen when people go outside,
Yeah.
because they are basically most of the time they are the same people.
But
Like,
I think it
they
always
speak the
causes
same
tension in the
language.
family.
They speak the same language. Even I mean, even Muslims intermarry a lot. Like Muslims marry like cross border. Hindus even marry cross border, but it's very rare to happen like cross religion, cross border together.
Yeah.
That's the scope of the film. Like that happens really rarely. I haven't seen in there most obviously many examples definitely there, but I haven't seen. But I have seen like same religion marriage happening because they're the same people. Like most of the time, speak same language, Hindi and Urdu. Like like
But when
in
it's
the
cross
North India.
religion, I think it causes a lot of tension. Like parents will threaten to commit suicide.
Yeah,
will threaten
and also
to cut
there are a
them
lot
off.
of
It's
visa
quite
issues happen between India and Pakistan. Like from a like bureaucratic point of view, like a lot of visa issues happen.
Do Pakistanis have to get a visa to go to India?
Yeah,
of course.
both sides,
I think
both
it's very
ways.
difficult for Indians to get a visa to Pakistan.
Yeah,
as
it's both
well.
ways,
Yeah.
both ways, and even it's a whole mess. It's like it will different rabbit holes. Should like put it for some other film where we have Pakistani villains.
But the
Yeah,
movie is also brave for touching upon this and then going to question religion as a
Yeah,
whole.
Yeah.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
Like they were touching upon people. We can get along. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no bounds.
the
basically.
Pakistani guy, like they don't look down on him.
No, they did not.
Like
yeah.
there's nothing about it that's like patronizing or anything. Like he
yeah,
like that's nice.
yeah.
So yeah, circling back to this, His Holiness, you can see where his stance comes from. He's talking all like superstitious, like and everything. And I think one thing that we get to learn early on in the movie is like Jagu's family is very like religious, and like one thing you could tell is like they have his picture up everywhere in the house. It's very tongue in
They
cheek.
have the guru's photo up
They
everywhere.
have the
yeah.
guru's photo.
It's not tongue in cheek. I have seen families like that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But why I'm saying tongue in cheek?
Oh,
is
tongue in
like,
cheek. Sorry, yeah.
Like
It's not,
why I'm
sorry.
saying tongue in cheek is like, you know, they were talking about how like you can donate money through his website or something. I thought that was pretty funny. You know,
That happens as well.
that is true.
So
right?
the tone is tongue in cheek, but it's not. It's not they didn't take a creative license to blow it out of proportion and like magnify it. But no, that's very reality. I have dealt with this kind of people, this kind of families I've seen growing up. Like we'll have their guruji's photos everywhere on the wall, and it's very touchy subject for them. Yeah, but 8 out of 10 are frauds.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
wild.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, so Jagu meets PK, and PK was like giving up. It's like God is missing, and just to like fast forward things, it's like we can see that PK is not of this world
Because his ears are slightly longer.
His ears are slightly longer. He goes from being ignorant, and then he starts learning like India's like societal norms, like learning about having higher powers to higher power beings to follow. And there's like a lot of intricacies we notice about his character. Like one thing that I think we all notice is that when he goes into the temple, he tries to get the money back because like, oh, God lied to me. I didn't get my answers.
He
And-
takes I mean, his whole premise is he takes everything very literally. So like,
Yeah.
if you put the money in, then you should get something out. And if he doesn't, he wants a refund. He wants to take it out.
Yeah.
Which when you apply literal things to religious interpretation, of course, it's gonna like clash. I will say, like early on in the film, when he is, I think it's actually the same scene when he's taking the money out and they're coming towards him. He slaps the religious figure stickers on his cheek with his genius. So he has these like religious figures on his cheek, so like people can't hit him because he's so used to people hitting him in the temple at this point from doing this that he's learned that like you could just do that, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like you should. I mean, honestly, like draw Muhammad on your forehead and run around, and so like they can't show your face on CCTV or on the news or anything, like lest they like get Muslim fury. So like that's brilliant. Like I'm gonna adopt those practices.
Yeah, there are other things that we noticed too, like how if he doesn't have a place to stay, he would just piss on a wall so that the police would come catch him, and then he ends up in jail, and there he can have a place to stay. Or like he locks up his sandals at the temple, like a bicycle. Or
I've been there too. Yeah.
that's so hilarious. Or like in later on in the movie, we learn that there's a central thing where he learns that maybe God is scamming people. Maybe he's like something about prank calls.
Like
or-
wrong number.
Wrong
they have the
number.
wrong number.
It's like
No,
everything.
God is not pranking. It's like there is an agent who is supposed to connect the wishes to God. That agent is like dialing wrong number, and he's scamming. The agent is scamming all the money, so the things are not be going to God. So he's actually when he learns about God, in the film, like he stays a theist. Like he believes in God. He all along the film he believes that there is a God who is a benevolent God, but these people are like someone somewhere is scamming, because this is obviously not working. The prayers are not working. Nothing is working. People are killing each other in the name of religion and all these things. So what's there like and he questions the differences in religion as well, right? Like how do you know like who is who? Like
He-
no, who is which God is the real God, or who is who, like whether is it by birth you get to know that this kid is Hindu, this kid is Muslim? Like does God sends them?
Yeah, doesn't he
to
try
the-
to make
with
everyone
a-
take off their clothes and stuff so you can like see if you have
Yeah,
like a
stamp.
marking on
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
if
that-
you're,
There's a scene he goes to a hospital and he like checks a newborn baby to see if they have a label on them, and then when he realizes that they don't, he kind of goes to the temple with the guru in it, and then he makes different people of different religions swap clothes and dress up in different religious attires, and he's like, can you guess where these people are from? And so of course the guru just guesses based on their religious attire, and he's like, you're punked. Like I just
owned
swapped
you.
all
I
their
owned you,
clothes."
guru.
Yeah.
I tricked you.
So also going to show that this is all concepts.
Yeah, I mean he goes through like a lot of. So I guess the movie got a lot of heat because it looks at social norms or like cultural traditions, right? Like I think, at one point some guy talks to the guru and he's like, "Hey, I need help for my son or whatever, or my dying dad or something. And he's like, go up to the mountain and go pray to this other person. And PK is like, why would a god make you do that? Like, this is and so I think people got heat from like, these traditions, like these objects that we fetishize, or like these, social norms that we abide by. Like, it's offensive if you make fun of that. And it is tricky because, like, I mean, yes, at some point you are, sometimes the religious stuff doesn't make sense, like literally, and religion just literally most of the time doesn't make sense. But like, it's also, if it's just built into your culture of like, this is the habit that we do, or the pattern that we do. It's very hard where it bleeds in between. Where like, are you criticizing just the cultural that's built into it, or the religion itself?
Yeah.
But throughout all these critiques, I think it's important to note that like he kind of always believes in God, like Keely said, right? And that's why I find it a bit funny that people were offended by this movie, because he never really questions God at all. He always kind of holds on to that, and he's just questioning the way people have chosen to worship him like blindly.
Yeah.
Kelly's making a lot of good arguments, just saying and agreeing with all of us.
Yes. No, it's true.
So no, I will say though, like I growing up Christian, like I said, like all my VHS tapes, I watched a lot of Christian movies and TV shows and stuff. And watching this, I think that it's very resilient. Like if you get religious movies for the most part, at least in America, right? You'll have like a Christian movie where it's like, this Christian person goes to the college campus and argues with the professor, and then they have like a debate with facts and logic, and then the professor's beaten and stuff. And they can't really have a movie where things are correctly questioned, right? Like it's always the Christian questioning other things, but it's no one really coming up and questioning them. And like this movie is resilient in that way, where they are inviting like questions and they are directly criticizing it. But I still think it's an overtly religious film. Like I don't think it's not anti-Hindu in any way. But it was kind of refreshing to see that they are able to withstand those types of questions, because the Christian ones, I don't know, maybe because they're just always like playing victim, but they're always like they never take any shots. They never, like try to defend themselves in any way. It's always just like at playing the victim and kind of trying to poke holes in other people. And so I did appreciate that, at least from this.
I think the reason it was criticized for being anti-Hindu so much was because it really did poke at idol worshipping, which is a big thing in Hinduism, right? And there's a scene where he goes to a temple and he buys like a small statue for a cheap price, and he prays and it doesn't work. So he goes back to ask for a refund, and they're like, oh, you can buy a bigger one or something. So he's like, okay, so if I pay more for this bigger one, will it work better? Right? And that also kind of just like pokes holes to some degree in this. And I think that, and also the scene where he follows Shiva, Lord Shiva, a normal man dressed as Lord Shiva, and he follows in the bathroom and corners him. And this
that was pretty good, actually. That was a good scene.
But I was pretty uncomfortable at it. Like it was just he was like locked him in a bathroom, and
from his point of view, he finally cornered the god. Now it's time for questioning. Like he's really like he has like his back is like next to the wall, so he doesn't have any other choice apart from questioning God that point while he's peeing.
I've had my
just like, I want to go home, I have kids at home. It was an uncomfortable scene.
It was an uncomfortable scene. Like he was like going to rob him or harass him somehow.
No, he's just gonna question him about his remote.
I know the way they present it in a bathroom out of all places,
So he meets with the woman, right? Jagu, right?
Jagu. At first, she didn't believe him, but then like we get this long flashback where he starts learning like all the cultural norms in India. Like at first, like he was getting like paper of Mahatma Gandhi.
That was good too. All right, wait, no, back up. So he was giving money. He was giving currency when he first shows up, and it's a picture of Gandhi, and he's like, "Oh, people take these pictures of Gandhi and give me things." So he runs around like ripping pictures of Gandhi off walls and stuff, and then he hands them like posters, and they're like, "What do you want me to do with this?" That was pretty funny. Like,
he's learning about currency.
Currency, or like how he finds clothes. He realized that people wear clothes, and he finds them through dancing cars. like
Yeah,
people
it's-
having
Yeah.
sex in cars.
And
Yeah.
this pops up a few times throughout
It
the
pops up
movie.
way too
So
many
he just
times.
steals people's clothes when
When they're having sex
they're
in the
having
car.
sex
So
in
is
the
that
car.
really a thing? Like people having sex in cars all the
Yeah,
time?
but I don't think they put the clothes out like that. I don't think so.
Where'd you put your clothes, Killy, when you had sex in the car?
They never had.
Okay.
For podcast purposes.
Just in the rickshaw.
So yeah, like didn't believe. I think, and eventually, like Jagu believes that this guy's not of this world, and then they go on this crusade to prove that his holiness is a fraud. Right?
Because the holiness has his remote at
Has
this
his
point.
remote.
Has the necklace to get back home.
And then his holiness is claiming that this remote control is a gift from God, and that's when you know that he's a fucking liar, right?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like a bead from Lord Shiva's necklace.
Yeah.
That's what he's claiming it is.
Yeah. And so yeah, they go on a rant. They go on like this crusade, and like we mentioned before, like PK believe. So PK, let's talk about his name. PK, like why
the
PK?
name.
The name.
Oh,
because-
okay, so he
it
was-
says tipsy, right? It means
So-
tipsy.
Oh.
So no, okay. So PK is not an adjective. It's an adjective, but it's not it's not a noun. Okay, it's an adjective. Like in a way, they were asking him, "PK ho kya?" PK means like, "Are you drunk?" PK means actually drunk, like drunk. Okay, so PK ho kya? Are you drunk? Then he is just thought that his name is PK. And he was telling everyone, yeah, I am PK. He took that name. He thought PK is a name.
Okay.
And
right.
then he assumes that name for him.
Yes. Yeah.
This is going to be a common theme, I guess, which is constantly bad mistranslation, where the title is PK, but in the movie they call him Tipsy. They're like,
Yeah,
hey, you're
the
drunk,
subtitles
you're
say
tipsy. So he has like an elf name.
Yeah.
And the whole movie is just called Tipsy, and you, as an English viewer, have no idea why this is called PK because it's never mentioned once.
Yeah. Yeah.
They should have called the movie Tipsy.
Yeah. Yep. It is.
Thank you.
the
That's all I
English name.
wanted was just.
But and then I think one more thing I saw on the subtitle that he says like he learns Hindi, but he learns Bhojpuri. It's like a Bihari language, like one of the language which is very close to Hindi, and he learns that from the prostitute, like the way he was learning. So he has to hold hand for 6 hours to learn one language, right?
Oh my God,
Yeah,
we need to
that's it.
totally
Talk
touch
about
on
it.
that.
So he was, when he came to this world, right? He was lost, and he meets like a traveling showman.
Yeah.
It's played by Sanjay Dutt.
Yeah.
I think it's like a cameo. Like, it has one of my favorite songs in the movie. I think it's called like Taki Chokro or something. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's a
so like
Rajasthani
he was
term, yeah.
trying to like. So PK's ability is that he holds hands to absorb the knowledge.
Yeah,
from other
memory,
people,
knowledge.
memories and stuff. And he couldn't because he's an alien. We're led to believe he's an alien. He's not Indian. This traveling Sanjay Dutt's character takes him to this brothel, and that's where he gets like this prostitute tries to get intimate with him, but then he just decides to like grab her hands.
So he needed someone to
Wait.
grab hand for 6 hours,
Yeah.
and he was trying to grab hands for anyone for 6 hours.
But yeah, and let me just back up. Your favorite song, Nicky, the entire thing is about how this guy is very handsy and harasses everyone.
Yeah.
And it's a very cute character. The whole thing is about how he's just like sexually assaulting everyone and how it's a very cute affectation of this weird friend who just cannot stop touching people. So like he like runs to people getting married and like grabs their hand and just will not stop like harassing people. And that's the entire contents of the song.
It's like the subtitles said something like, here comes my zany guess, can't tell guy from girl, or like, here comes the lusty lad,
Yeah.
I guess with this crazy fat or some shit like that.
Everyone runs away from him. Nobody wants to be around him. He is assaulting everyone. And finally, the guy relents. He's like, all right, I'll just got to take him to a prostitute because he's so revolting to everyone around him and won't stop touching everyone. And it's somehow like super cute.
Yeah, I know it's like questionable lyrics, but the song is such a banger, man. It's like
It's a banger. But then he
it
goes
is
to
a
the prostitute and
banger.
holds her hand for 6 hours, and then
He
So he learns
learns
Bhojpuri.
Bhojpuri or not Hindi.
Yeah, it's like it's super weird because he's in Rajasthan, which is like so far, like thousands of kilometers away from Bihar, where the Bhojpuri language is, and like he starts speaking Bhojpuri, but a Hindi speaker would usually understand Bhojpuri as well because it's almost a dialect. So yeah, and everyone is surprised, like, oh my god! And it was a very point of fun, like in India, because like like a Bollywood film main actor, like alien comes to lands on India and then he learns Bhojpuri. So that was a very nice take from the filmmakers. I felt
because it's like a
And
prostitute language.
no.
Oh.
It's a
It's
Rajasthan
it's a language of one state. Like
Okay.
I like that you can
it's very
prostitutes
close to
have a whole
Hindi.
language for themselves.
It's very close to Hindi. It's like the girl was from that state who was working
Yeah.
in a faraway state.
Right. It's like Isan.
But is Aamir Khan from there, or like did he actually have
Yeah.
to learn Bhojpuri for the film? Did he actually have to learn Bhojpuri for the film, or is he just from there and he knows
No.
the
I think he
language?
had learned, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's easier. It's like someone Thai learning Isan, like
Yeah.
Adam
Very
mentioned.
good
Yeah.
analogy, Adam.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know how I know that. So, so anyways, he's super handsy, but he finally like learns the language and he's able to speak to everyone.
Speak to everyone. And I think Sanjay Dutt's character said something like, "Wow, he's amazed. Get laid, get well," or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you suddenly get laid and,
And then starts talking.
starts talking.
And you stop trying to touch everyone.
Yeah.
And that's also how he learns. That's how Jagu believes that he's an alien, right? Because at first she was not believing him. She just thought that he was batshit crazy, and then he touches her, and then
Learns everything about her history and everything,
Right.
which will come into importance near the end of the movie. But yeah, so she believes him, right? And they go on this campaign to like to convince the public that there are like false prophets around the country. You know, he starts questioning things like.
Well, yeah,
I think-
because he's after the necklace, right? That's and
necklace.
the guru is like talking shit.
Yeah, so PK was trying to say like, people should stop doing these like meaningless rituals that would give you the answer, because to him, he's like jaded. He can't get an answer from God anywhere, right? And then, I think like we later find out that like that Sanjay Dutt's character finds the traveling salesman, and that's when we learn that this guy sold the remote control to His Holiness. So it's all a lie. It's all lies,
Yeah.
basically. And so like with that information, right? We get like this weird scene where Sanjay Dutt's character dies. He gets
Yeah,
assassinated
there
through
is
a
a-
bomb attack.
I love that you're laughing at this, Nikki.
It's so
There was a so
random.
shocking
It got
scene.
so dark.
I
so
forgot what
fast.
happens again.
It's like
So he was bringing the guy who actually sold snatched the necklace from him
Yeah.
and like sold it in some marketplace. So he didn't directly sold it to the villain, Tapasviji guy, and then but he just sold it for a few money, very little money. Okay, and then he gets hold of him, and so he tries to bring him to the Delhi or wherever they are at, so to prove to people that okay, this is the story. And then there is just an explosion
There was
in
an
the train,
explosion,
like a
just
terror attack.
a terrorist attack, just to silence like that vital information.
So
from
the
leaking.
first time I watched it, I thought
Was it
this
by
was,
them? It's
right.
unclear actually. It's unclear. It's not
Has to be.
disclosed. It's not disclosed that who made the, because I think it was also a commentary on one of the rail like terror attack that happened, that was kind of framed on some people, some terrorist organization, but it was like said to be done by some other group, like conflicting religious groups, and there was a thing like which never came out, never had proper investigation to know like who actually caused the terror attack. There are accused party, but it's like kind of went up in smoke. So yeah, so I think that's why the filmmaker kept it hidden, like not mentioned that why that terror, like who that did that terror attack. So it's like for him, I think it's a commentary. Like at the end of the day, it's a terror attack. Doesn't matter who is doing it. Like
Yeah.
it's the innocent people dying. It doesn't matter who
It's
is
just
doing
the
it.
poor traveling
Yeah.
circus people dying.
Yeah,
I
it
just
doesn't
think,
matter.
I
who's
always feel
doing
like
it.
from all the
Yeah.
movies that we've seen, we always have these like plot twists where like someone just dies. You know, I'm not gonna get into
Yeah,
it.
PK, the alien with big ears, in like a big bloody scene for no reason. Like,
It's a signature fear of stairs moment. I would
yeah,
call it.
yeah. There's like just a hard
Fear of
turn.
stairs.
Someone has to like needlessly die for the character to learn something about themselves.
Right, and then like so then all this like campaign against false holy men. It culminates into this like talk show that they would have, and
He challenges them to like the debate, like a facts and logic debate
a
on
debate
TV.
where like PK says like everyone out there should follow the real God and not these holy men, and then like His Holiness was like arguing back that like, you know, I have a direct connection to God. I can prove that this is true because I told Jagu that, you know, you can't end up with Pakistani men. And then we learned that like PK absorbed Jagu's memories, and he said that, but you see the letter that she received about how like Sarfaraz, the Pakistani dude, he was basically telling her like, oh, we can't get married. It wasn't actually a letter directed to her.
There was no address. There was
There
no
was
from.
no address. But like the way we find out, right? It's like it's so convoluted in a way. It's like she gets to like like earlier in the movie, right? She gets to this wedding scene, and then another bride goes up to her and says, "Here, hold my dog. Hold my basket." And that's when we find out that this kid that goes into to the church giving the letter of rejection, it wasn't directed to her. It was directed to the bride. But like we would never see that on first watch. I think it's so funny how like everything falls into place. And that's when PK was able to prove to His Holiness that, you know, that wasn't directed to Jago. It was directed to another bride. And
Yeah,
then
so that bride was stood up.
that bride was stood up.
Yeah.
And then Jagu realized, oh my God, maybe PK's right. And then I should call the Embassy of Belgium just to see
Pakistan Embassy.
The Pakistani Embassy in Belgium, just to prove that right. And like, I don't know why she didn't think about doing that at first. I don't know why, but it ultimately proved His Holiness prophecy was just false. And
Well,
like,
wait. No, she calls the embassy and they're like, "Oh, hey, it's you. This guy's been calling every single day for years, waiting for you to call, and he's gonna be so happy." Like, so this guy is, by the way, the ultimate cuck, because we'll get to the end. He is, dude, because like, so you know, they fall in love, whatever. She leaves the wedding place where he's supposed to meet her, and then he is just sad and calls his embassy every single day for years. Okay. Anyways, they connect again at the end of the movie. Cute. And they're like, "Oh my God, like, yeah, it was just a big miscommunication, blah, blah, blah. Let's get back together." That's fine. I'll get to my main point after this. Anyways, continue.
But like, it took them 6 months to realize that, oh, it was all a miscommunication. I have loved you all this time. I wanted to marry you. And, you know, I guess that's it. Like, it ultimately proves that His Holiness prophecy was just false. That's literally the point. That's literally the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And the end scene, the monologue that PK has, and I think that also went viral a little bit. And this exact line where he's like, "There are two gods: the one who created us and the one you have created, and we have to believe them in the ones who have created us and abolish yours." So I feel like there was specific lines in that monologue he had at the end that really kind of hit the nail on the head about his view on religion as well. Which is really like, God exists, but it's just not the God that you have created, that you believe in, that you're using to exploit people. Yeah, I really liked his end monologue. I don't know if it hit you guys in the same way.
No, it's good.
Kinda did,
Like, I mean, I think, you know, what they're trying to establish is that you don't need intermediaries or, you know, gurus for your
Right.
direct connection, which I agree with. But anyways, really quick though.
My question
Yeah.
is, doesn't PK creates a new god by saying that?
Well, also he's like an alien. I mean, that would alter
So-
any religion. I think if like an alien showed up, I'd be like, wait, this wasn't in what I grew up in. But I just want to say the romance. So like she gets back with she calls and gets back with the Pakistani guy and they get married and stuff. But PK like reveals that he's actually in love with her, and she writes a whole book about PK and like goes on book tours and stuff because she loves him. Because the problem with the movie, I think, is because they need to have a love story. But the Pakistani guy is in the very beginning and the very end. So like they don't have a chance to develop. So the only people that can develop are Jagu and the alien PK. And that's who like we're invested in, but they can't have her fall in love with an alien. It has to be even worse. It has to be a Pakistani man, not some guy from outer space. but the problem is like, so he just shows up again at the end, but she's, all invested in PK at this point. He clearly is in love with her too. So this Pakistani guy, he seems sweet, but he is like completely sidelined. And even though he's married to her, she's still in love with him.
But that's in the scope of story, scope of the film.
Yeah.
But it shows that PK learns by holding her hands that she's still in love with the guy. That's why he
But she writes
stops.
a book about him.
But
I
he
wouldn't
stops.
say that she's in love with him, though. I don't think that showed at any part. There was a point where he was in love with her. He even writes on the card, "I love you."
But he doesn't give it
realized-
because
he
when
finds
he
out.
holds the hand, that he
He
finds
finds out.
out that she's actually
Yeah.
still in love with the Sarfaraz guy, and then that's why he makes it a point that these guys also get together.
Yeah, and he
So-
never really disclosed his love for her as well. He just had a bunch of tapes before he was going to go back to his planet. And then Jagu kind of listens to some of the tapes and realizes that it's all records of her speaking.
yes.
And that's when she realizes that, oh, PK is in love with me. But she doesn't stop him or anything. He's an alien after all. I think just the fundamentals of that relationship would be quite
The ears wouldn't fit.
Right.
I just think that it was nice that it ended that way.
Yes,
I didn't
yes.
want it to be like, oh, my true love was an alien all along because he's the main character. It just goes. It's very rooted with like like loving someone from a different culture.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. It goes back to that. And I think I like that. I like that approach. I didn't want her to fall in love with Aamir Khan.
Yeah, and I
That
think
would've been
PK's
weird.
whole premise is like be selfless, right? And he kind of exhibits that with his actions as well. He doesn't try to win her over or convince her or anything. He just realizes that she's in love with somebody else, makes sure that she gets back with him, and then goes back to his planet. So everything that he's going on about God and what religion should be, I think he also exhibits that in his personality and his actions.
I mean, yeah, for an alien, he's very humanist.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so actually he was not able to lie throughout the film, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's his like
Right.
human behavior that he never understood. Humans can lie. Where he's from and his planet, people cannot lie. And at the very end, there's a scene.
No, because
where
they communicate through holding hands.
Right,
They
right.
get all the
all the
information,
thoughts,
so
right?
so they know like what is going on in your head and what's the memory of it. But
But at the very end, before he gets on his spaceship to go back to his planet, he tells a lie. And that's when Jagu and both him, I think, realize that, oh, he's actually become a little bit human during his time on Earth.
How sweet
Yeah.
he's become a little evil and
A little
high
of a
and
liar.
he's deceptive. He's just like us now. That's so cool.
yeah,
Takeaways.
Yeah, I mean that was the whole movie. I enjoyed this movie. I mean, I know when you were saying like it looked like I was kind of like offended by it. I think it was just kind of iffy, you know. It was like I was amazed at how bold the movie was at questioning like religious beliefs, considering like in Indian society is deeply rooted in religion, you know. Like I can understand the controversy that it caused, and I think I think with all the themes that they presented and the things that they questioned, it was quite bold, like really bold of them to do that. I also think that Aamir Khan, from what I've seen, I think I would say that this was I think this was his like his best role. Like from what I've seen in Three Idiots, I thought that was a really cool movie that he was in. But this was like a really like well acted movie. It's like very Forrest Gump-esque, like Rain Man-esque character, like the eccentric character that the character plays, like a breakout role of some sort. Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
For me, the anecdotal humor, like there are some humor that was pretty fun for me. Like just pulling out, sorry, just selecting some things that euphemism and like different intricacies of human languages. That he points out as like, oh, don't get confused. Like last when he brings his other alien mates to Earth again. He says like, okay, when humans say they love chicken or fish, that doesn't mean actually they love them. They just love to eat them. And if they'll say love you, that means like that doesn't mean like they wanna eat you. So this kind of euphemism, and then this kind of hints towards the religion question as well. Like like I mean, yeah, I feel a parallel between that okay, like the how linear and straightforward question you ask about God as a kid would ask is can be answered in a twisted way. Always there is euphemism, there is like metaphor, allegory involved in things of when it comes to society, culture, and religion and language. So straightforward, it will not make sense, but if you know the culture, it might make sense. So which was kind of antithesis to the film, I felt. So that was a little takeaway from for me, but I really loved the the quirkiness of the film, like how lightly and how innocently it talked about the problems in society a little bit, the religious problems and the guruji's problem. By the way, like I can't remember any film where a guruji, like this kind of guruji, was a good character in from Bollywood. Never. They're always villains.
Were who?
Like this kind of Babaji Gurujis,
Guru, the
the
spiritual
guru,
guru
the
figure,
spiritual
the
guru
villain.
figure, they're
So,
always villains.
so would you say Sadhguru?
So this is like a normal movie
Yeah.
plot then. This is like a normal plot then.
No. Plot is like actually him as a villain is a normal plot, but
Right.
he was directly like questioning the idol in the temple, like
Yeah.
like making fun of God in the Shiva scene. So these were what people also got quirked about, and he was straightforward, um, questioning the religious practices as well, right? So that was controversial because in usually in those films, these gurus are shown as fringe element in the religion, not the actual religion. So that's how you say like, oh, this guy is the villain. It's not the system of belief
Yeah,
that
I
is
mean,
the villain.
I do gotta say, like, it's easy
Yeah.
to just point your finger at a guru or two and be like,
Yeah.
everything else is great except these
This
couple
guy
guys
is like
contaminating
misusing.
it,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
not true.
That's the take of most of the films.
Yeah.
But in this film, he through him, the director kind of questioned, the writer kind of questioned the whole practice, how we see it. So that's why it was controversial.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. Take away, Whitney.
Would you say Sadhguru is a villain?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Do you think he's Brat? You think PK is Brat?
Brad?
I'm kidding. Go on, Whitney.
I mean, I chose the film, so obviously it holds a very special place in my heart. I don't really want to give too much of my interpretation. I really just want to urge all the listeners, if you haven't watched it, go watch it and like put your ego, put your beliefs aside. Just like be open to experiencing new things and questioning normalized beliefs, because I think this movie does a very good job at questioning like just even beyond religion, just like how we operate as humans, how we interact with each other, all the little divisions we've made between religions, but also between like men and women, for instance. So, but it really paints kind of like how religion has been commercialized and commodified in many ways. And I think that's a very big topic in India. So I thought that this movie was very bold in the way that it depicted it. But I think upon talking with Kili, it seems to be like a normal thing. There's been many movies about this, about how gurus are corrupt. But it still seems like a lot of people worship gurus. So
Yeah.
even in his end monologue, he talks about how God is hope, right? And I think in India, there's always this need for hope, and people really exploit that. And I think if this movie helps even one person opens their eyes, it's already kind of achieved something that many other films don't, right? And you see that throughout the film also, where you have like nuns on the screen being like, why would God tell me not to send my young girls to school? Of course God would want education for everyone. Or like, if you have a direct line to God, why can't you just end India's poverty? So these are very like basic questions that we should be asking before we donate a ton of money to a figure who can never live up to their promises. So, yeah, like I love this movie. I think it's a type of movie that makes you think about things. I think it's also very philosophical. So I remember when he goes to a temple and he starts donating money and asking people about God. It reminded me of like Nietzsche in that book, the Gay Science, right? You have this madman running into the market and going like, "Where is God? Where is God?" And that's also where his famous quote of like, "God is dead" comes from. So it kind of had that, and PK looks like a madman in himself. That's why he got the nickname PK. So yeah, like I think this movie does a great job at questioning blind faith, religious divides, social norms, and blind faith, like as I said. So it's, yeah, I would definitely rate it in my like top 3 Bollywood movies.
Really?
Because I am not a fan of like tropes and romance and like, unbelievable things, fantasies that kind of underline so many Bollywood plots. I really like realism, political commentary, social commentary, and this movie kind of delivers in all that aspects. And the fact that it became so popular despite that, hey, yeah, I think it really speaks to the diversity of Bollywood as well. All the films that we've talked about earlier, I think, kind of have that Bollywood trope roped into it. But this is a very unique film to some degree for me. But it still has that kind of like fanatical aspect of an alien landing on Earth. And yeah.
Would you watch it for fun?
Absolutely. This is my definition of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember
Okay.
watching the film and you and Nicky were just kind of like so serious. And I was like, why y'all not
We were
laughing?
so
Like, he's
worried we were gonna get canceled.
Yeah. Like he's chasing Lord Shiva in the bathroom. Why is this not funny? And you
Because
guys
we were
are
like, we have
just-
to talk about this eventually.
I remember Adam's initial reaction. Oh my God, it's religion. We need to talk.
Yeah.
We need to talk about it.
So this is the first film that I've picked for the podcast,
Yeah.
and I have a feeling it might be my last.
No,
No,
I
no,
like
that's
it.
not happening.
It's gonna make sense. Like I think once again we all reveal our like picks over time. Like it's gonna be so clear where all of us are coming from in this. But no, I think it's all right. I think it's good. I think like I said, I think it's a lot better than a lot of the American stuff where if it does talk about religion, they usually aren't very good at like poking holes too much, or if it is a religious film itself, it is just incredibly like victimized and defensive right away instead of like willing to kind of be a little introspective and examine, its practices and stuff. So I think it was good. I think the main actor is super ripped. I think that was nice, especially at his age. And it was pretty funny. So I enjoyed it. It totally makes sense as a Winnie film to pick.
Would you guys agree that if all aliens are ripped like that, they should just invade Earth?
They
Can
should
we agree on
invade
that?
Earth. I think we have a lot to learn about how they do that.
We should juxtapose with the first statement Winnie did.
What?
If all alien are this ripped, they should invade us.
The last thing I was gonna say really quick with this and Jawan, there is like we're getting a little pattern of like pointing out problems but not giving any answers really, which is cool. But like, we'll see if this keeps popping up.
Yeah, that's what artists do. They
Yeah.
they put out questions like the answers that are from philosophers.
There's no objective answers to these questions, right? You have to form the answers yourself.
I think there's some objective answers sometimes. I think we could find that.
Right, but people are less likely to believe objective answers. They
Then
have to
that would
arrive
be
at the
real
conclusion
controversial
themselves.
because
Right.
that would be a real
Well,
controversial.
This movie comes out, he's like, I'm God now.
But you plant enough seeds of question into people's brains, and they will arrive at the conclusion that you intended them to arrive at, which I think this movie does very well.
Which is what?
Which is form your own beliefs. Don't blindly follow people. Like if you're going to believe in God for what God is. Don't
Yeah.
believe in humans that talk to God. You can talk to God. You don't need intermediaries. Like you said, you don't need humans. You don't need.
Yeah. Also, listen to Swole Aliens. Like that's the most
Yeah.
important.
And
part.
also, aliens are hot. This movie has told us. And they're not necessarily green.
Yeah, big surprise for me on that one, actually. Yeah.
Actually, right?
Interesting. Okay, well, that closes up. Boy, where did those huge grapes come from behind?
Oh, I went to buy it.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're going to go eat our momos and grapes now.
We're going to go eat momos and grapes and watch the next movie. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.